1 we have covered how to create the baked texture of a possible veneer. In part 2 now I would like to show you how we can actually simulate a particular wood type. So let's go back to this image. As I mentioned, these are all different type of woods, but they have certain characteristics which are common across them. The rings, pores, grain, color, density. And that's basically what we can focus on and really try to work on inside our rendering or the material, so we can create an illusion. We will not get 100% close to it, but we will get, or we should get so far that it will be believable what we're trying to do. And also here now you see I have those natural materials, and then again I have those fake materials. Okay, good. And I would like to probably focus on the zebra and maybe the maple, and then we can maybe take a look at the walnut. You will see actually they're all pretty easy. Okay, so I have here a very basic blend file. Just hold on, Blender starting. It just basically has the square and the empty there. Okay, so that's the way currently how this looks. Okay, so let's take a look at our structure, what we have here. So we have our mapping nodes, we have our texture inputs, and this upper area defines, for example, the wood rings, and then the Veroni we use actually for the pores. Okay, good. So let's say maybe we start with this one. So let's make the maple flat cut. Okay, easiest way, well, we need to load a sample, or in our case this one, and hold on, I will R and thing, just rotated the image quickly in preview, open it there, so now it's rotated. So this actually helps us understanding a little bit of how, for example, I have to adjust these basic settings to get something like this. Okay, good. So first, I will select all those, delete them, and do this. So I can move this one over there a little bit. Okay, good. There. Shift Control Alt C. Geometry to center. Oh, there's a point left over. Bye bye. There. Okay, now this one I can really make to the center. Good. Okay. Perfect. So let's say we make a copy of this one. No, this is our not copy. We just made this a single user plus the mesh that uses it, so we can click on this one. Then you see we made a copy, and now we say this should be maple flat, kind of like our image here. Good. Let's turn on the rendering, and yeah, looks like everything, but not this. Okay, so first trick is try to figure out, well, where is maybe the empty and how can I position the empty so that maybe I can get these rings. So you see there's actually the ring structure. Okay, so maybe something like this. If this is a little bit too confusing, judging by this, we can also simply just do the rendering here in this window, and then here we can see the empty and move this around. Okay, keep in mind also up here there is another veneer cut. There's the book matching. Good. So let's start actually with our material from scratch. So I have actually my wave texture, and then we mix these two colors. Again, I can try to sample the colors actually from this image there. Let's feed this one in and let's take a look. Okay, so the colors, let's say we got close, but I want to get even closer. Is that really the color? It looks so dark. Okay, well, I guess it's here. Maybe let's go to there. Sometimes you have to move around a little bit. Yeah, this feels a little bit better. Okay, good. So, but if we compare these two patterns, you can clearly see that there's a nice blend from A to B, but we have more of this wider area there. So how do we do this? So that's actually now where our color ramp comes in. With the color ramp, when we plug this in, now we can decide maybe how much of the dark area do I want to see. In our case, it's actually the opposite, how much I only want to see of the brighter area. So you see I'm forcing the darker to the edges. And you see we're getting close already. So this is pretty nice. No? So good. Can actually play with this a little bit more. Maybe here we can compress these edges, make this a tick sharper there. Or what happens if we add the medium gray, something in between, or minus? Yeah, it doesn't really matter much. Yeah, okay, like this. And again, you know, we do not get 100% close, but we want to create something that's believable. Okay, so that's good. Let's take a look at our mapping here. Is there something we can maybe play with the detail? Let's say in terms of for the noise, what happens here, so not too much distortion. There's, for example, a little bit more distortion happening. So we have to be careful with the amount of detail we use. So 1, 2, 1, 12, 6, 0, 1, 10. Okay, no, we can keep it this way. Also keep in mind, we also have, for example, the scale factor here. So we can adjust the scale, how much we see. And I can also, in addition, maybe play with the empty. So right now, this might not be visible. Let me do this a lot. See, I scaled actually the empty. Or here I can scale this in addition to add a little bit more to it. So both ways work. We work this way or with the empty, but doing this at two different positions can really be a little bit tricky, which is why I would rather than say, you know, if you work with it, then just try to do most of this just inside the scale, inside the mapping, so it's consistent, easier to work with. 7, let's compress this a little bit more, 0.4, 0.2, that is too long, 0.4, 0.35, 0.4. Okay, perfect, good. So it looks like the grain structure and the cathedrals and so we also have the quantity of, for example, the two different colors. So the wood rings, the brighter ones and the darker ones. That also seems to work pretty good. So what we need to do now is add more realism to it. So if we zoom in, we can clearly see this looks blah. And here, look at all that stuff. Well, this is also a terrible scan, obviously, but there's stuff happening. But before we continue, there's one additional thing I would like to point out. You see there is a nice color here. So we have this yellow color, and then we have something pinker, and then we have the darker. So that might be a situation where we have to say goodbye to our two-color mixer, and we have to introduce the colors to the color ramp. So let me show you how this works. So we can click, for example, the black, and let's say this is the dark. We can click the white, and this is maybe the brighter one there. And let's maybe make another plus there. See, these colors are similar, change a little bit, and then maybe this one we make a little bit more orange. Okay, so instead of using this mixer now, we just use this color ramp. There, see? And then we can adjust how much, for example, we want to see this one. So this maybe should be the same like this. So we can Control C or Apple C the color, go to this one, paste it in, and then we go to hue and saturation, and so this is 106. Let's see, it's maybe 80 there. So you see we can play with the setting a little bit. That's another way how to do it. So we just add a subtle effect to it. Your eyes will see it. The human, you might have to look for it till you see it, but that's very often what we have to do. Fool your eyes. Okay, good. So structures. There's a little bit of a noise in there. So what would be an easy way to do it? We could add actually a little bit of noise to everything. So how do we do the noise? Well, we can go to texture, and there is the noise texture. For the moment, all those I will move away. Ching ching. Bring this to there. Okay. And I will just add for the moment another material output because I want to take a look at how the noise looks like. Okay, so way too big. We could, for example, scale this one down to 10, 100, maybe 200. Now you see there's some grizzling happening. Okay, good. Perfect. We also have actually a black and white output. You see that? Well, we can have a color output. I want to have the black and white one. For the moment, I will set this back to 50 so you see this one better. Let's add a color ramp. And you see that we can also kind of like levels adjust this a little bit. Play with the colors and how much, for example, we see. If it's a nice transition, or is there maybe kind of like certain wide areas like islands. So let's put this one to there, and this one can go away. This will only be for the viewers. So now I need to figure out, well, how could I actually try to mix this noise pattern over this wood material. So because the output of the color ramp here is just color which will be fed into the diffuse color, we can try to manipulate that. So we can go to color, mix RGB. Let's say you mixed, I will use red as a crazy signal color, and then maybe use this black and white here as an mix factor. And there you can see it. So it's kind of like mixed with it. And if I play with this one, there you can see how much, for example, is mixed in or not. You see the color black and white actually defines what is mixed in and what is not. So you see white is, black is not. So we can, for example, pick maybe another color, let's say something there. Should we make this darker? I don't want to make it darker. There's something happening now. There we see it. Okay. Let's say we go 200. There. So and then it's basically up to you to decide, well, what type of color do I use for that noise pattern, so it just doesn't look so bland and empty. Currently then it's a normal noise pattern. If, for example, we want to stretch it, similar to the rings, then obviously we also have to use a mapping mode in this case. So maybe with this we can define the size, and then with those we can adjust, for example, compressing it this way. And maybe stretching it a little bit. Okay. Yeah, from a distance, this looks a lot more interesting than straight like this. See this empty? There's stuff happening. Your eyes will feel and see the noise. Okay, so that's basically, let's say, for this type of veneer. Kind of like the steps you have to take to recreate something, so we can create then the material. Something similar, for example, we used for the bent plywood stool. And as you can see, the tricks here are just working with the coloring, with the wood rings, trying to find kind of like the correct flow between the dark and the bright color, paying attention to additional colors maybe that they're in between, and then also maybe adding a little bit of a noise. But with the noise, be careful that you pick a color that's not too distracting, or like in this case, colorizing everything too much. And obviously you want to pick a noise that also has a little bit of significance, so it just doesn't go under, so you don't really even notice it. Okay, perfect. Good. Let's keep this one. And with this sample being finished, now we can go back and take our object, scale it apart, so we can create then the geometry with the size of veneer we actually need. And it's the same process then. We then move this around. We can create also the different slices. And then we have everything for our veneer booking. So let's take a look at the walnut. This one is pretty interesting and has a lot of different colors. And it's going to be a challenge first to do, but the trick here again is layering, layering, and layering. So we see waves and rings, different colors. We also see the pores, and there are some darker rings there as well. So we need to figure out maybe how can we try to do something that looks close to it. Okay, let's go back to here. And this time now we will load actually this image. Okay, let's maybe move this one over a little bit and there. Okay, I will try to scale this one so proportionally maybe it makes sense. Let's say single user copy, and then this will be walnut. Okay. And let's start the rendering, and we can just rotate the view to the other side. So instead of 1, I press Control 1. Okay, good. Let's say this is perfect. Zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so now we have to adjust everything we have. Well, first, you see the rings are very soft, so properly the distortion we should try to turn off a little bit. Maybe like this. Or a little bit more distortion, but less detail. Yeah, maybe. Now you can play with these settings till you find something that fits. And maybe just keep it there for the moment. Okay, good. So the next step will be, well, we have to do the same again, or we need to adjust all the different colors. So you can select this one and then try to eyedrop, let's say maybe here, a nice and dark color first. So let's go to this area. So maybe let's say like this. And then maybe this one here for the moment I remove, and then maybe a brighter one. Okay, and then I can move this one out. And there. We also don't really see very sharp edges, so instead of saw, maybe let's use the sinus one for the moment. Okay, good. Now we see it's actually dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, bright. It seems to work okay. Can we play a little bit here with the transitions? Okay. So, but it looks just way too uniform. So what are our options? Well, we could maybe say copy, and bring this one over, copy. So we have 2, for example. So let's say you copy, you paste, you copy the color here and paste. Let's try this one with saw. You see like there's something else happening, the way how they flow. Can also make another copy there, paste the beginning, maybe move these around a little bit. And this got very dense because we actually kind of like defining multiple rings now, so maybe the scale we set to 1, so we have less craziness going on there right now. And you see now scale wise, it gets closer to it. And let's see what we can do when we adjust those a little bit. There, or maybe this one remove, bring this one to there, so we have nicer blends. Yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe for the first moment, let's keep it like this. But this is our second dark one, and we make it a little bit brighter, then we see which one it is. So a little bit brighter. Let's click this one, also a little bit brighter. So we have a different flow. Does it work? Not really. So was a good idea, it just doesn't really cut it. So let's go back to this. And maybe some kind of really undecided about it. Copy and paste. Oops. Yeah, Yeah, maybe we do it this way. You see, for the saw at the beginning, I added the other color, so maybe I have a slightly softer transition. And that actually works better. Good. Maybe we can keep this for the moment. Okay, so what can we do now to mix this maybe and make this more interesting? What we can do is the following. We can take, let's say, this wave texture, move it to there, and I will make a complete copy. So the mapping, the wave, and the ramp. It's all good for the moment. And then here I will add another color mixer. Plug these two maybe together. And let's take a look. So, looks kind of odd. So basically what I want, you see there are some other colors. So maybe here I will adjust this, and here maybe I will make this one transparent, and this one I will make transparent. Let's make another view and let's take a look. Looks like this. Well, it's because kind of like mixing maybe everything this way. Hold on, what's going on there? No, here, wah, I missed that connection. Something didn't really work right. There, so you see, I have this color ramp, I have these rings, and the beginning and the end I make transparent. So I can create this structure, and then I mix these two colors together. And for example, here, now you see the left on the right. So they are kind of like overlaying. And you see here, when I move this one, there's actually, you can see the original structure below and the new structure I have. And even here, when I select this one, copy, and let's say we make this one red, there you can see how I mix this one over it. But the problem is they overlay perfectly, so it's kind of stupid. It's not really what I need. So the trick is not to work either with the mapping or the scale. So let's take a look at the result with these two ramps mixed together, and I set this to 1. And then now you see I have these two options, there and there. But when the mixing, you see I replaced the one or the other one. Well, that's the reason why we have this alpha channel. So we use that for the mixing factor. And there you see, more stuff is happening. So it got actually a lot nicer and richer. Maybe 2, and again then they perfectly overlap. 1 or 2, maybe 0.4. Woo! I meant 4. I see that doesn't work as good, but 1 or 1.5. No, there. Well, we can keep them for the moment this way. So let's delete this, and I would like to see how does this actually look, the original and then the one mixed over it. And you see, there's so much play happening. Okay, great, goody. So now you could adjust the colors and the color ramp, add more or less, and basically you see this way then we can create kind of like these colors we have. In general, I'm working on a rather dark material right now. The problem is also with the way how a tree grows, the colors can even change from the center to the outside, and that's very difficult to show. But if you also have 5, 6, 7 veneers next to each other, you kind of like do not want to have a big color change. Like you see lower right, upper left. If you squeeze your eyes, it's brighter to dark. Okay, so the next thing, pores. So this is all our grain stuff. This we can delete for the moment. We don't need it anymore. There is our final material output. Okay, and there's the mixer. This we can delete for the moment. And before I continue, I will introduce you now to the frame. So in Shift A layer, add a frame, and then we can select all those plus this one, G, and drag it onto the frame there. And we can give this wood grain, wood rings, however we want to call it, a name. And we zoom in there. Perfect. And we could even actually give this maybe a color if you want to. So visually they stand out. It's a very nice way to organize actually your materials, because you can see at a certain point this turns to be very, very confusing. Okay, so the pores. There are pores. Let's take a look at what we see here right now. There's some pores, color ramp. That's the noise. Oh, actually that's the noise. That's not the pores what I wanted. Wah, wah. You go to there. Here are my pores. So I will add a viewer for the moment. Let's take a look. Yeah, okay. So we zoom in, you see they're very, very short. So I stretch them here right now way too much. So 50. Yeah, 50 looks okay, but they're way too big. So 400. Let's take a look at it for the moment this way, so it's easier. Okay, what happens when this is 100 or all are 100? Okay, so there's my pore stuff. So you see it's like a cell structure, but I only want kind of like the black circles. So I have to plug in a color ramp. So color ramp there. And let's see, when we adjust this, what can we get? Ah, look at that. There are my pores. Okay, perfect. But I would like the colors to invert. So invert there. Perfect. Goodie, and we can make this nice and sharp, because these pores have pretty sharp edges. Okay, good. So with the scale, we can quickly add a scale factor. So for the moment, I keep this at 1. So let's see, which way can we stretch? That's the scale. So that's not what I want. What about this one? See, here we can compress it. There we're actually getting slightly to where we want. There. Maybe I need to dense this out a little bit more. So you see I move these sliders on the color ramp a little bit to the left, so I get more empty spaces, so everything is not overly saturated. So 400. What if this one is 50? There we're getting close. Zoom out. Okay. Yeah. Now we can set the texture to 2. So for example, it's a little bit bigger. Maybe 25. There. Okay. So let's say for the moment this is good. And this pore texture I would like now to mix into this other material. So here's my final material. You can see that basically the pores feel like they're an overlay. So similar to the color ramp, the way how I designed this. So for example, the white I will make transparent because the black is what I want to come through. So what I can do now is say color mix. I will use red as a signal color so you can see what's happening. Take the color output from the wood rings, feed that into the diffuse, and then I will just only use the alpha for the factor. Okay, and yeah, I have to actually use here the invert or not. Ah, there. Perfect. Hold on 1 second. Oh, color. Watch. There. Good. So obviously red is wrong, but now we can see, does this work or not? Pick a nice color from the wood, zoom out a little bit, and there we are. See? We tried to match kind of like the characteristics. There's a lot more happening in terms of the grain. So maybe make this 510 and 3, and actually, to be honest, 25,400. This was probably correct. I just need to maybe make this a 2 or 3. I need to add more pores, so I have to play with this slider here. Yeah, there. 4. Oh, I see there. We're getting close. Now these lines are a little bit too skinny, so maybe 50, no, 10 we can keep. Maybe this 300 to make them vertically bigger. 100, that's too much. 200. Okay. Yeah. Good. A little bit of fine tuning. And we can basically keep this in okay for the moment, and then we would have to adjust all the different colors. All this bing can go. So you see here the noise we didn't really do with a noise, but actually here we used the Veneer and the pores to run that through it. To structure everything here visually so it makes sense for us again, let's add another layer, frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, G, drag it in, and then this is our pores. Pores? Shoot. Poren. Forgot right now how to spell it in English. Okay. Perfect. Obviously you can see this is not 100% match, but again, if we zoom out and we zoom out, can you really see the difference? Obviously when you get very close, then yeah, you will see it, but we don't really take a look at a piece of furniture from up close. We see everything from a little bit further away. So again, that's the reason why I said our ideal is to try to create illusions. So the last material I would like to create with you here is the zebra wood. This one is actually quite interesting because if we try to break this down, it looks like behind Swedish curtains, these blacker lines, we have also other lines or gradients. And then we have some pores. So how can we create this? Let's go to here. I keep this one horizontally. Image open. Hold on, my hard disk is spinning. And there it is. Open. Okay, let's take a look at it. Maybe zoom in a little bit more. There, goodies. So, because this will look like a, let's say, a rift cut, and we don't really have cathedrals, we can actually adjust our material a little bit. So let's make this a copy, and then zebra wood was not correct. Yep. Okay. So here for this one I delete it. That's fine in this case. And Shift D, I will make a copy, M to there. Let's take a look at how this renders. So you see from the center here, this renders. Okay, so we know, however, from the center the wood grows. So if I want to have a rift cut, I simply have to move it high enough, like there. Okay, and maybe move it a little bit to there. Perfect. Good. So you see that was most of it. And then maybe R minus 90. We can make this a little bit wider so it matches it. Okay, perfect. Good. Let's take this material, and for the moment we will focus actually on just this. So no pores. I can basically turn this to 0 and 0 and 0, so no distortion, so I get nice lines. You see, but then this is just way too static, so maybe a little bit of detail creates a little bit of irregularities. Okay, good. No? So bang bang bang, you delete, because I want to start from scratch. Let's bring this one over. Okay, so ideally when we measure this out, let's say this is 7 inch by 7 inch, then you also want to create your object to the same size, the mesh. So the sample you create is to scale. So now, what are the different steps we can try to do? So if we close our eyes, we can see there's dark, bright, something. Okay, so let's zoom in. Let's go to here, and let's maybe start with the picker. Pick some colors. Is it really the same color I picked? Sometimes you have to be careful with what you select. There, okay. Maybe bring one more, make a copy. There. And maybe select this one, bring this over, scale 1 so it's not so small. Stretch these out maybe a little bit. So, okay. Not perfect right now, but let's see. If we zoom actually even further out, you can see it's dark, bright, dark. So maybe the third one in our case we can get rid of. There. Okay. Let's make this maybe a 1. I want to try something. Okay. Yeah, in terms of rings, our scale is actually way too big. So 0.5, 0.1, 0.2, kind of like for what's happening in the background. Maybe a sinus, 0.1 plus minus. I'm not sure yet. So okay, I'm gonna try something out. So you copy, so go to there, so this one here, the color I copy and paste it to this one to see if that can help a little bit. I don't know. Or maybe what we want is we just go with constant, so we have kind of like those bands. That works to a certain degree as well, let's say. Okay, this shows really the crude background. Good. So now we need something that will go over it, like with all these blacker lines. So we have actually most of this already there. We can make a copy. Don't forget to attach this one. And I will do something like this. So I will create a color mixer. Maybe white and red. Because with red, that's basically the stripes I want to see. And I will bring the alpha over only. So this should all be, I think, red. Because this right now is just gibberish. Okay. Because we need only transparent and opaque areas. So new color ramp. We can set this now, if we want, maybe alter to constant. And then here one, let's set this one to alpha. And there we see. There we have one. Plus and plus, plus and plus, and another one, and another one. There and there and there. We can just play with those a little bit. We want to have a gap where two might meet. Okay. Maybe here a little bit more of noise to it. Ooh, this is too much. What about 4 to 20? 14. Can just keep this. Okay, good. The lines are also too thick, so let's put them on a diet. Okay, so now this color ramp output I would like to be mixed with this color mixer. This color mixer actually should be this nice dark brown color there. So this should go in between there. Whoop, wrong key. So you go to there, you go to there, and you see here this alpha that takes care of how now I mix these two ramps, how I mix this color ramp with a new color in addition over it by using this color ramp. There, let's zoom out a little bit. Yeah, see how we're getting close. So you can clearly see that the first color ramp just uses a brute constant transition, but because we have all these other lines there in between, it doesn't matter as much. We are fooling the eye with additional, technically speaking, information. It's just too much, we distract it. So our trick is now we can add more. There and there. There and there. And there. Maybe bring this over, can play with this a little bit. For example, can make these skinnier. Make them a little bit uneven, and then 0.2 2, maybe more. Dang. Huh? Good, close. So the next thing, again, we need to add some noise or pores. There we have some pores. How do they look actually on it? There. We have some pores, but not as many. So let's see if we adjust this. There we only have some. This is good. Okay, so this building block is done. So here, this one we can feed into there. Let's take a look. And how does that look that way? That's not the way it should be. Oh, wah, wah. In my case, I have to do it this way. You see the black area or the darker area are the pores, and the gray is the wood material. Here, I want to feed in there. Okay, good. And then maybe then we can fine-tune this a little bit. Maybe make them a little bit bigger if we want. Maybe select a color that fits better. Okay. So, and there's still now a lot of other stuff happening in terms of variations in colors. Actually, if we zoom in and just notice, now you see here the darker lines, and then there they don't even all perfectly match up. So this approach we have here is actually pretty good. You notice that also here this is a nice soft line. The problem with the constant, it's a straight line, so it's unfortunately a given with this problem. We can't deal with it too much. It's just this way. So let's see if maybe we couldn't add a little bit more of color quality to just this output. This looks too empty right now. So we'll see when we have, for example, texture and noise. Let's maybe put this one in there. Oops, that's not what I meant. Let's bring this one to there and mix. Okay, so this is our outcome. The factor, or maybe bring this one in there, multiply screen, or now can we, for example, add or do color calculations. Now, for example, subtraction or multiply. Multiply works pretty nice, 500. Now if we zoom in there, you can see there's no like a grizzle actually that happens to it. One there. So what other functions do we have? We can darken it, doesn't really make much. Saturation, not really. Divide. Divide actually looks interesting. That makes it a little bit too strong, however. So we can work here with the multiply. And we can also, of course, also there again, plug in a color mixer if maybe we want to have different values we multiply with. So black and white. So now I'm overriding kind of like the black and white texture of the noise. Maybe I make this a little bit more brighter. So because you see the multiply black and black actually makes it kind of darkish. But maybe I want this to be a little bit brighter. And we could even add another color. So we multiply now the colors from the color ramp with another color. So we can tint it this way a little bit. Okay, so let's see how does this look when we feed it in there. This is interesting. Why are they actually white lines? Hold on 1 second. So, oh, I overwrote something. Hold on 1 second. What just happened? Oh, wah, wah, wah. Of course, I overwrote the color for these lines. There. There. That's what I had. Okay, so this actually goes out and this goes into the first. There we are. Gone. Okay, and then it's basically another color adjustment so we can fine-tune your colors. And maybe this is too brightish. Let's give this more dark so it's has more contrast. Okay, perfect. Let's keep this one also at where it is right now. I hope that basically this way you started getting an idea of how nicely you can combine all these different elements and then step by step build these blocks. So think about layers, background rings, rings you have on top. Even while here visually we see them next to each other, to create that image we want to layer them. Similar to the way how we work, for example, in Photoshop. And if I take a look here at this one, even there, this is actually a very easy one to make, the classic mahogany, which I will ask you to do as well, because you can see this is really just with the white, the gradient where we had the color, and then the white rings or parts inside the gradient, and then later we put kind of whitish pores over it. Okay,